Hi, everybody. So, we've been learning about the different types of sentences recently. Just to refresh your memory, a simple sentence is a sentence with one subject and one predicate. A compound sentence is a sentence with two subjects and two predicates. And now, today, we're going to be learning about complex sentences. Okay? Now, this is all you need to know. A complex sentence is a sentence with both a dependent and an independent clause. Okay, got it? No? Okay, let's go back a couple steps. What is a clause? Now, I'm not talking about Santa Claus. A clause is a group of words that contain a subject and a verb. Okay? Now, some sentences, like a simple sentence, will just have one clause, and other sentences, like compound and complex sentences, will have more than one clause, okay? But again, all you need to know is a clause is a group of words that has a subject and a verb, okay? Now, here's the first type of clause, an independent clause. Now, an independent clause can stand alone as a simple sentence. Let's take a look. Although she likes pepperoni, she decided to eat Hawaiian pizza today. She decided to eat Hawaiian pizza today could be a sentence all by itself without the rest of the sentence that's there. So it's an independent clause. If I cut off the rest of the sentence and all it said was, she decided to eat Hawaiian pizza today, that would be a perfect sentence. It's got a subject and a predicate, okay? Now, that's an independent clause. Let's talk about the other type of clause. It's called a dependent clause. Now, a dependent clause cannot stand alone as a sentence by itself. It depends on another clause to make a complete thought. And it's going to have what's called a subordinating conjunction, okay? Now, let's look at the same example we were looking at before. Although she likes pepperoni, she decided to eat Hawaiian pizza today. Although she likes pepperoni, does not finish a complete thought, even though it has a subject and a verb. Okay, our subject there is she, our verb or our predicate is likes pepperoni. Now, the reason why this is a dependent clause is because of this conjunction here, although. If I just said, although she likes pepperoni, and finish the sentence there, you would be waiting for more because the word although tells us that we're going to be comparing something to this first section of the sentence, okay? So a dependent clause is going to have one of these subordinating conjunctions that makes us know that something else is coming, okay? Now, let's try some examples to see if we can tell if these are dependent clauses or complete sentences. Let's look at the first example. Although she was very sorry. Is that a complete sentence or a dependent clause? I hope you said dependent clause. Let's take a look at the next one. She smiled when she finished the job. Is this a complete sentence or a dependent clause? Complete sentence. Finally, while she studied for her test, is this a complete sentence or a dependent clause? That's a dependent clause. Now, I hope you were able to recognize the dependent clauses because of these words here, although and while. These words tell us that there's more coming soon. Just a refresher of dependent clauses. A dependent clause is a sentence part. It has a subject and a predicate, but it is not a sentence by itself. Dependent clauses begin with a conjunction. Here's some examples of some dependent clause conjunctions. Those are also called subordinating conjunctions. While, because, although, since, until, after, than, before. Now, there are more than these on this list, but those are just some examples for you. Sentence. The carpenter hummed softly while he worked. While is our conjunction, and the conjunction begins the dependent clause. While he worked is a dependent clause. You'll notice it has a subject, he. It's got a predicate, worked, but this conjunction here tells us that it cannot stand by itself. So it is a dependent clause. So let's go back to this definition from before. A complex sentence is a sentence with both a dependent and independent clause, okay? Although she likes pepperoni, she decided to eat Hawaiian pizza today, okay? So our dependent clause is although she likes pepperoni, and our independent clause is she decided to eat Hawaiian pizza today. This is a complex sentence because it has both. So here's some additional features of complex sentences. First, the independent and dependent clauses can be rearranged. If the complex sentence begins with a dependent clause, it must be separated by a comma. Here's an example. Whenever it rains, comma, I like to wear my blue coat. Now, watch, I can rearrange these clauses and the sentence still makes sense. I like to wear my blue coat whenever it rains. See that? I rearrange these clauses and the sentence makes sense either way. Now, in this sentence, whenever it rains has a comma after it because the dependent clause comes first. Okay? My independent clause is I like to wear my blue coat because it can stand alone as a complete sentence by itself. Whenever it rains, this whenever right here, this conjunction is telling us that there's more coming. So this is a dependent clause. So again, when the dependent clause comes first, we need a comma. When the independent clause comes first, we do not. So let's practice. I'm going to read you some excerpts from some stories on Kids A to Z, and I want you to see if you can find the complex sentence. Here's example 1, and this is from a book called Sharks by Kyra Freed. Do you know a shark may wear out and regrow 1,000 teeth during its lifetime? Eating. The shape of a shark's teeth depends on the kind of food it eats. Most sharks have many rows of teeth. When one tooth breaks off, another one moves up to take its place. Sharks' teeth break off easily. Can you find the complex sentence on this slide? Remember, you're looking for a sentence that has an independent clause and a dependent clause, and then there will be a conjunction. If you said this sentence, you are correct. When one tooth breaks off, another one moves up to take its place. Here's our dependent clause, when one tooth breaks off. There's a comma that follows our dependent clause, and then our independent clause. Another one moves up to take its place. Here's another example from the same story. Sharks do not reproduce nearly as quickly as other fish. When they are killed, it takes much longer for their numbers to increase again. Sharks are an important part of the balance of life in the world's oceans. They have as much right to exist as any other animal. Can you find the complex sentence in this example? Here it is. When they are killed, it takes much longer for their numbers to increase again. Our dependent clause comes first, followed by a comma, and then we have our independent clause. Remember, our independent clause can stand alone by itself to make a sentence. Our dependent clause cannot. When they are killed. Here's our last example. Built to survive. Polar bears are adapted to survive the severe conditions of the Arctic. They appear to be all white, but each strand of hair is actually transparent. It has been commonly believed that this clear of fur carries sunlight to the bear's black skin, where it is also absorbed and changed to heat. However, studies on polar bear fur have proven that it does not transmit sunlight to a bear's skin. Since the sun is either low on the horizon or not even above the horizon during the coldest Arctic months, it wouldn't make much difference if the fur was able to transmit sunlight to the bear's skin. Okay, now this one's a little bit trickier. Can you find the complex sentence in this passage from Plight of the Polar Bears by Ned Jensen? I hope you chose this last sentence. The key to help you find it is this word since, which is one of our subordinating conjunctions. This whole first section before the comma is our dependent clause. And this second section after the comma is our independent clause. Okay, now there were some compound sentences in here and some simple sentences as well. Polar bears are adapted to survive the severe conditions of the Arctic. Is that a simple, compound, or complex sentence? That's a simple sentence. How about the next sentence? They appear to be all white, but each strand of hair is actually transparent. Is that a simple, compound, or complex sentence? That's a compound sentence. They appear to be all white is an independent clause. Each strand of hair is actually transparent. That could also stand by itself. We know it's a compound sentence because it's got a comma and one of these connecting words here, but. Okay, I hope you now understand complex sentences. The reason why it's helpful to know what a simple, compound, and complex sentence is because when we're writing, it makes our writing more interesting to have a variety of types of sentences. So, my challenge for you is to go back and read something you've written before. Is there a variety of sentence types in your paragraph or your writing sample? If not, edit it and add them in. That will make it more interesting for your reader. Okay, goodbye, everybody.